All right, let's talk Jeeps. You know that check engine light can be a real pain. But what happens when you get a code you've never even heard of, like U0131? Well, it's not just some random glitch. We're about to decode exactly what your Jeep is trying to tell you, so let's dive right in.
So you're just driving along, minding your own business, and bam, a warning light pops up on the dash. It always gives you that little jolt, right? But hey, that code U0131 isn't just a jumble of letters and numbers. It's a very specific clue. So let's put on our detective hats and solve this thing together.
Here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll talk about what this mysterious code actually means in a general sense. Then, we'll get specific and define what U0131 is. After that, we'll hunt down the main culprits, lay out the solutions, and then wrap it all up with the one key thing you need to remember.
Okay, so the first thing you absolutely need to get about code U0131 is that it's not pointing to a broken part in the traditional sense. You know, like a worn-out belt or a leaky hose. Nope, this code is all about a breakdown in communication.
Think of it like a bad cell connection in your car. Your vehicle has all these different little computers or modules that are constantly chatting with each other. This code pops up when a really important phone call between two of them just isn't getting through. The line has gone dead.
So which two parts have stopped talking to each other? Let's get right to the heart of it. It's time to officially define this code and meet the two key players involved in this whole mess.
Officially, U0131 is what they call a diagnostic trouble code, or DTC. It means the car has lost communication with the electric power steering control module. So, our two players are the EPS, that's basically the brain of your power steering, and the TIM, which is like the main command center and fuse box for the entire vehicle. It's the big boss.
So yeah, let's cut through the jargon. All this means is that the little computer that controls your power steering is getting the silent treatment from the main computer that runs pretty much everything else. That phone line we were talking about, it's down. And that's why you have to treat this as a communication problem first.
Okay, now that we know who's supposed to be talking, let's figure out why they're not. This brings us right to our investigation, identifying the main culprits behind this communication blackout. Time to round up the usual suspects.
We've got three main suspects on our list. First up, a physical problem with the wiring itself, something called a short circuit in the CAN-C bus. Second, there could be static from other problems, like a weak battery messing things up. And third, it might just be a software glitch, where the main computer isn't set up right.
Let's look at suspect number 1, the CAN-C bus. You can just think of these as the physical telephone wires that carry all the messages through your car. If one of those wires gets damaged and shorts out, either to a power source or just to the metal frame, poof, the connection is broken. The call cannot go through.
Now, sometimes the phone line itself is fine, but there's a ton of interference. A weak battery, a loose connection, even a flaky ignition switch. All these things can create electrical static in the system, and that static can be just enough to garble the conversation between the modules, even if they're working perfectly.
And our final suspect is all about the software. See, that main computer, the TIPM, has to be told what other parts are installed in the Jeep. If it isn't configured right, it's kind of like trying to call someone whose number you don't have in your contacts. The computer literally doesn't know how to make the connection.
Okay, we've identified our suspects. Now for the most important part, right? What in the world do you do about it? In this section, we're going to connect each problem directly to its solution, giving you a crystal clear game plan.
And this table just lays it out perfectly. It's all about following a logical path. If you suspect a short in that CAN-C bus wire, the solution is to check that wire and fix it. If you see other trouble codes popping up, especially for the battery or ignition, you gotta fix those first, because they could be the real villain here. And if the TIPM isn't configured right, well, the fix is to reconfigure it. You see, you start with the simple stuff and work your way up.
So we've defined the code, we've lined up the suspects, and we've mapped out the solutions. So what's the one thing you absolutely need to walk away with? Let's boil it all down to the single most important takeaway from this whole explainer.
And here it is. This is so important. When you see code U0131, your first thought shouldn't be, oh no, my expensive power steering rack is dead. More often than not, the problem's in the wiring, the power source, or the software that lets everything talk. Your first step should always be to diagnose the communication link, not to just start replacing parts.
And as the source material makes perfectly clear, just ignoring this code is a bad idea. Finding that root cause, whether it's a tiny short in a wire or a simple software setting, is absolutely essential. A communication problem can be a warning sign of a bigger electrical issue that could cause a lot more trouble down the road.
So the next time you see code U0131, don't just see a problem, see it as a puzzle. You know who the suspects are now. It's the wiring, it's the power supply, or it's the software. The only question left is, which clue is going to solve your vehicle's mystery? Thanks for tuning in.